How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another exciting video. In the last section, we did our whole backend setup for this blog app, and now we're going to do the React front end. But before we do that, there's just one little typo I did in the last section, which I didn't really catch, but it was in blog life in the settings. You probably ended up catching me do it, but it was right here where I did media root. I put an extra O here, so let's just go ahead and get rid of that so I can actually access this media folder. Alright, so with that, now we can actually get started on this whole React side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start off with running my backend just while I'm working on the front end. So I'm just going to go ahead and start the database, and then I'm going to go ahead and navigate here into my backend, and then source, and just do the activation of the virtual environment, and then we're going to go ahead and run the server. So we'll let that do its thing. And then I'm going to open a new tab here. And now I'm going to start working on that front end. So I'm going to just do a start just to have it running. And then we're going to do some setup things. So basically what I have planned for this video in terms of the setup is I'm just going to create all the files, and then I'm going to do the home page, the nav bar, and then the blog page. And then in the next section, I'll probably end up leaving the blog detail page and the blog category page. So that's kind of the plan. So let's get to it. This is going to go a lot faster since we will be using Bootstrap for the styling. So there's going to be a lot of things we can just kind of copy from Bootstrap and just paste into here, all those components that we need. So this front end should go pretty quickly, I hope. So this is how our app looks right now. So let's go ahead and open the source, and let's just delete everything that we don't need. So this app.css, this thing, this, the logo, the service worker, all of this stuff we don't need. So let's just go ahead and delete that. Now let's open up index here. We don't need this service worker. We don't need this here. We don't need the CSS, so that's good. Let's open up this. We don't need app.css. We don't need the logo. And actually, since the indenting's like a little whack here, I'm just gonna delete this component and make a new one just to get the indenting proper. So app.js, go ahead and create that. Gonna need to import React. And then also that reminds me, we're gonna need some things to import, so I'm just going to do that now. We only need two things, really. We need npm install, we need Axios, and we need React Router DOM. And that should be it for the installs that we're going to need. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish setting this up here. So const app. Oop. And let's go ahead and export that. There you go. And we're also going to need the browser router. And I'm just going to call it router just to shorten up that name. Going to bring in route and going to bring in switch. And that's coming from React Router DOM, of course. And then I'm going to just set up a few of the other things I need here. So in this front end, I'm going to create folder here for higher order components, and within this one I'm going to have my layout.js, and then I'm also going to have a components folder, and then within here I'm going to have my home. I'm going to need blog detail, and I'm also going to need category, so let's call it category, I guess. All right, so now I'm gonna have to bring these things in. So let's import layout. That's gonna come from higher order components, layout. And then I'm gonna need home. So components, home. Gonna need blog detail, and finally category. So there we go. And now let's go ahead and use that router. And then gonna have my layout after that. And then gonna have my switch. And I don't really need to use the switch. It's just good if I also wanted to do like a 404 not found like catch component, but I'm just gonna not do that. I showed how to do that in my last tutorial video, and it's just gonna take away extra time from this, and the focus of this is just how to implement a blog. So that's what I'm gonna focus on. So route exact path slash, this is going to be for our home component. And then we're gonna need our other components here. So we need blog, we need category, and blog detail. And then for the blog, we're gonna have slash blog. For the category, we're just gonna have category, and then we're gonna have an ID, which we're going to grab here. And this is going to be the ID for the specific category. So whether it's like world or business, politics, whatever it is, it's gonna be right here. And we're going to use that into our post request for retrieving the different blogs in a specific category. And then here we're gonna have blog slash ID. So these are gonna be all of our components, and that's all we should need to do. And for some reason, it's not finding these things. Did I spell something wrong? Let's see, blog detail. That looks good. I'm just gonna close this, reopen it. Maybe that might be the issue. And yeah, there we go. So all the imports are fine. Okay, so that's it for that. You can close this out. And then, let's see. So we're gonna need layouts. So I'm just gonna do the layout now. So we're gonna have to import React. I'm gonna import, this is another component I'm gonna need. So that's gonna be Nav Bar. And I'm gonna have to import that. And that's gonna come from components, Nav Bar, and then layout. And this is a relatively simple component, just gonna have a div here, gonna have our Nav Bar component, and then we're gonna have props.children and make sure we bring in the props. And that's pretty much all we need for the layout component. So next thing I think I'm gonna tackle is the Nav Bar. So I'm gonna import React from React. I'm gonna import link and nav link. That's from React router DOM. Then Nav Bar. And we're not gonna have any logic, so we can just use the round brackets here. And then export default Nav Bar. And then I'm gonna go ahead and create a nav here. Make sure that things are working. And I'm just gonna go ahead and have this running so I know whenever I make any typos, like right here. So let's see what went wrong here. So element type is invalid, expected a string for built-in components. Module not found, component slash blog. Okay. So maybe that's just because I didn't do this setup quite yet. So I'm just gonna do some simple boilerplate. So I'm just gonna copy this, paste it in here. This is gonna be home, and then just gonna have a div here. Alright, so it's just gonna be my boilerplate. I'm gonna just put into each of these just to have something here. So this one's gonna be blog. I'm gonna have blog detail, and I'm gonna have category. Let's see if that fixes any of these issues. If not, then we'll have to figure out what else is going on here. So, Oh my god. Okay. So obviously I'm getting all these issues because this stuff was supposed to be in the source folder. Whoopsies. So let's go ahead and grab these things and just drag them right in here. You probably caught that. Yeah, sadly didn't notice, but that should resolve some of these issues. Let's see what else is going on here. Can't resolve components blog. So app.js./components/blog. So we do have that in here. Let's try rerunning this. Alright, so looks like that fixed the issues we had. So now we have our nav bar and we have our home here. So perfect. Next thing we're gonna need is, in order to make these components, like the things we're gonna need in our homepage and in the blog and the nav bar, we're going to need Bootstrap. So first thing we have to do is we have to import Bootstrap into here. So we're gonna need to go into Bootstrap. So just Google Bootstrap, open it, and then this is gonna be like the first page you see. Just scroll down a bit and you're gonna see this Bootstrap CDN. So all you need to do is click on this Bootstrap CDN link. That will bring you to this page here. So we have a couple different links we can import. For our purposes, all we need is CSS. So go ahead and expand this, and we're gonna grab this HTML one. So just click that, that'll copy it. You're gonna go ahead, open this public folder, index.html, and then just paste it right above here is fine. I'm just gonna have this on separate lines so it's not so long. And then that is pretty much how you bring in the Bootstrap styling so you can use it throughout your app. And I'm just gonna call this blog life just to have the title present up here, or up here rather. So blog life, perfect. All right, so with that, we have Bootstrap in here. That should have already changed some of the text so it's styled with Bootstrap. And yes, the text does look different now, looks a little nicer. So let's go ahead and go into, well, I'm gonna go back and open up the Bootstrap documentation. I'm gonna search nav bar, open up this components nav bar, and we're gonna find a nav bar that we like. So there's this one. All I'm gonna have is just 2 links, so I don't need like any of this drop down logic. Let's see if they have anything simpler. They have this where it's just the logo here. And there we go. So this one here looks pretty much like exactly what we want. It just has like the logo here, which we're gonna have like just the text blog life. It has these different links where we're gonna have home and blog, and that's all we're gonna have. So this one here looks perfect. So I'm just gonna go ahead, copy that, go into nav bar, and then simply just gonna highlight this and paste it right in. Now let's fix up some of this indenting here. All right, that looks a little better. Let's go ahead and indent this. All right, looks good. All right, so we're gonna have a few things we're gonna have to adjust here. First of all, these class things here, this has to be called class name. So I'm just gonna, on Visual Studio Code, I can just highlight one and just go Command D and just go ahead and select every single one of these, and then gonna go ahead and rename them to class name because that's what we need in React. So that's the first adjustment we need. And then after that, gonna have this be blog life, of course. And then this, instead of being an A tag, we want to use our link. So gonna have link here. That's gonna go, instead of having an href, it's gonna go to /. That's what we want. Then we have this button. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this stuff on separate lines just so that it looks a little cleaner. All right, there we go. That looks a lot better. So now we have these list items here. We only need 2 because we're only gonna have 2 links. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete these 2. We're gonna have one that is going to be home. So I can just literally leave this one how it is. And then we're gonna have this one, which is going to be our blog. And then we're gonna use the nav links. So we're gonna have nav link here. We're also gonna have nav link here. And we're going to have to adjust this a little bit. Instead of having this 2, it's going to be exact 2 equals /. this one is going to be exact2 equals /blog. All right. And of course, mess this up here since my keyboard for some reason is all messed up, and a lot of times whenever I click a key it just like ends up typing the key out twice, and it's pretty annoying, but what can I do? So right now our nav bar should be set up. Let's go ahead and check it out, and look at that. We have a nice looking nav bar, and we can also go ahead and just click blog and we go to the blog page. We can click home and we go back to the home page. So that's all set up. Awesome. So next thing I'm going to work on is the home page. So let's go ahead, open the home page up, and what we're going to need is a Jumbotron. And the home page is going to be really simple. I'm just going to have the Jumbotron here, and it's just going to have a link so you can go check out the blogs. I'm trying to keep this app very simple, just kind of implementing all the things that are absolutely necessary and no more than that. So here I'm just going to search Jumbotron, and we get a component for the Jumbotron, and this one here is literally exactly what I'm going to just use. So I'm going to go ahead, copy that, going to go back to my home page, just plop that right in there, just fix the indenting a little bit. There we go, looks good. Again, we're going to have to change these class things to be class name, since that's what we need in React. And of course it's complaining because we need all tags to be like self-closing, and this HR here isn't, so we're gonna have to put a slash here so it's a self-closing tag, and so we don't have issues. So if we go ahead and save that and go back, we can see we already have our Jumbotron here. Now I don't really like it taking up the full width, so I'm gonna put it inside of a container. So I'm going to go ahead, create a div here with a class name equal to container. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this Jumbotron inside of that. Oops. So paste that in there. Just do some indenting here. There we go. So it should already look a lot better. And of course I also want to have some space here. So with this Jumbotron, I'm going to have margin top 5. Go ahead and save that. And there we go. It has a little bit more space now, so that looks good. Now I just have to change up this text so it's a little bit more fitting for our application. So I'm going to have welcome to blog life. And then for the text here, just going to get rid of this. And what I'm going to want instead is just we make all kinds of awesome... Excuse me. We make all kinds of awesome blogs about various topics, I guess. And then below that, just gonna get rid of this, have some other text that's a little more relevant. So let's say click the button below to check out our awesome blog. And then we're going to have a link here. And of course, we need to bring in link from React Router DOM. So let's do that. Link from React Router DOM. And let's see what's going on here. What did I do? Oh, there we go. Of course, again, the double typing of the letter is pretty annoying, but can't really do much about it. So we're going to change this to be a link. This is going to go to /blog. And then instead of doing learn more here, I'm just going to have check out our blog. And there we go. Looks a little bit better. This here should be a capital, so I'm just going to do that so it looks a little nicer. There we go. Check out our blog. We go ahead and click that, and we go to the blog page. Awesome. So last thing I'm going to tackle in this section is just going to be this blog page. So let's go ahead and do that. So if we go back into Bootstrap, so what I did is I went to these examples. So you just go ahead, click on examples, and you're going to see a bunch of examples for styling for different things. And right here we see this blog one. So if you go ahead and click that, you can see that there is a nice kind of format here for if you have like a blog style application. And this is exactly what I'm also going to be using. I'm not going to use everything. Like there's a lot of this like extra stuff that if you watch the overview video, if if you watched the overview video, you saw that I didn't implement any of this stuff here. Also, this top like heading here I didn't use, but like these different category links I used this featured area, and I used like this stuff here. So that's what I'm going to utilize out of this. So you're just going to want to go ahead, go back, and just go download examples. And then you're going to get a zip file, you're going to unzip it, and within there you're going to have a folder called blog, and within there you're going to have the HTML and the CSS that implements that like blog that we saw here. So I went ahead and already did that. So just go ahead, download that, unzip it, and then I'm going to open it up in here. So I'm going to go ahead and open, and I saved it on my desktop. So this is how you would do it. You would have a folder like this. You would go into blog, wherever it is. I'm a little blind. There we go. And then you have these two files. So I'm going to open up index, and I'm going to open up the CSS. All right, so we're going to want to snag a few things from here. So I'm going to do some setup stuff, I guess, before I tackle this. So first of all, I'm going to make this a capital, since I'm going to want to bring in things like use state and use effect. So use state, use effect I'm going to want inside of this blog, since I will be making API requests to our backend to retrieve all of our blog posts. And then I'm also going to need curly braces, since I'm going to need logic in order to do this stuff. So I'm going to have a state for blogs and set blogs. So use state, that's going to be an empty list. Also going to have featured blog. Featured blog, there we go, set featured blog. That's going to be use state, and that's also going to be a list, and it's only going to have one item within that list, which is going to be our featured blog. We're going to have use effect. Oh, there we go. And then just going to have the brackets here. And then within this use effect hook, I'm going to have const fetch data is async. And then I'm going to have a try catch statement here. And then this catch is going to catch an error. And I'm not going to handle the error. I'm just going to have it catch it. And then I'm going to fetch the data. So this is how you would do an API request using the async await kind of method of doing things, which is a little more modern, so I'm just going to use that. And then we're going to have const response is equal to await Axios, which we're going to have to bring in. So import Axios from Axios. And also another thing I'm going to have to bring in is links, so I'm just going to do that now. So link from React router DOM, and that's going to be it for our imports. So within here, we're going to do Axios dot. It's going to be a GET request. We're going to use the tildes, and then right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a what's it called? A .env file. So that's going to rest right in this source here. So it's going to be .env. And then within here, I'm going to do, you have to start it with React app, anything that you use in here. And then I'm going to, after that, use API URL. That's going to be equal to HTTP localhost 8000. And that's that. So I have the .env here. So I'm going to do process.env.react app API URL, and then I'm going to do our backend request, which is going to go to API/blog/featured. So this is going to retrieve our featured blog. We're going to do set featured blog, and that's going to be response.data at 0, since it's going to retrieve just that featured blog. And that's that for this use effect hook. Now I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. Now what's nice is you can have more than one use effect hook. So I'm going to do, instead of fetch data, I'm just going to do fetch blogs, let's say. This is going to be response.data. And then I'm going to have a request. Instead of to featured, it's going to go to /blog. And that's going to retrieve all of our blogs. And then instead of setting the featured blog, I'm going to do set blogs to be that data. And it's not going to be at 0. It's going to be all that data is what we're going to want. So that's that. Now another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function for capitalizing the first letter. And I'm going to need this because with the categories, the way it is in the database is that it uses a lowercase letter to start. So when I retrieve like a category and display it on like the blog post card, I want it to have a capital letter so it looks nicer. So I'm just going to have a function I'm going to create here quickly just to do that. Capitalize first letter, I'm going to call it. We're going to need a word that we pass in, which is going to be our category. So I could even call that like category. Or I guess word is fine. Doesn't matter really. And then within here, if we passed a word, we're going to return word.character at 0.2 uppercase plus word.slice, and we're going to grab the rest of that word. So just the index 0 we're capitalizing and the rest we're not touching, and we're just returning that whole word, which is going to be our category, capitalized with the first letter. And then otherwise, actually we don't need an else here, we can just do a return empty string here. So that's that, and then I'm going to have a function now. Also, something I'm going to quickly do is just have my return here. If I can spell return, just going to have that as a placeholder there while I do the rest of my functions here. So I'm going to have const get blogs. And then this function is going to return all of those blogs. And then, let's see. So within this return statement, what I'm going to want to do is grab some of the stuff here. So let's scroll down a bit and see things I'm going to need. There, this is what I need. Okay. So these categories, I'm going to want to bring this in. So I'm just going to go into this return statement. I'm going to do a div with a class name of container margin top 3. And then I'm just going to paste that in here. And let's make sure their indenting is all good. There we go. And then I'm going to want world. I'm going to want environment. And then technology, design, culture, business. And all of these are just going to stay the exact same. I just literally use the same ones that they use, except for the US. I'm just going to have a category environment. Now I'm going to want to also have a link. And I'm going to want to do that for all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all of this stuff and then just delete, do link, and there you go. Nice quick way to do that. I'm also going to have to change these classes to be class names. So class name, and then these class names are going to be the same. And then for these hrefs, I'm going to want them to not be hrefs, but to be 2. They're all going to go to /category / the ID. So let's say world for the first one. Then I'm going to want environment. So there we go. So that sets up that. So if we go back, see what we got here. There we go. We have all of these links here. So that's pretty awesome. And if we click one, we go to category /world. Of course, we didn't set up the category page aside from displaying categories. So we see there for now. If we go to technology, we'll go to category /technology. So that's awesome. We have this implemented. So now we're going to go ahead and implement the rest of the stuff that we need. So if I go back here, I also want to have this Jumbotron. So this right here is going to be that featured blog post. Or sorry, that's right here. And then within the container here, so right below here, just gonna go ahead, paste that in there. And let's just indent this so it looks nice. Awesome. These classes are gonna be class names. And let's see, so what I'm gonna want is, instead of having just this static title, I'm gonna wanna bring in some JavaScript here, and I'm gonna do featured blog.title. So we're gonna bring that in. I'm gonna delete this. That's going to be featured blog.excerpt. And then for this paragraph here, I'm just gonna put this stuff on multiple lines so it looks a little cleaner. And then continue reading is fine. This is gonna be not an A tag, but it's gonna be a link, and it's going to go to /blog/the slug. So what I'm gonna actually want to do is put these curly braces here and then have the tildes. And then within here, $, brackets, and then featured blog.slug. So that's going to bring in our featured blog. Let's check out if that actually worked. So we didn't get our featured blog. Maybe we didn't set that up. So blog posts. So yeah, we do have blog posts. And one of them is featured, which is this one here. So we should be able to see my third blog post. So there's got to be a reason why we're not seeing that right now. So featured blog. We have featured blog. We have set featured blog where we're setting it to this here. We have API blog featured. Let's see what our backend is telling us. So best way to see what's going on is to inspect here. Maybe I messed something up. So let's see. So title, we literally have no title displaying here. So blog/undefined. Yeah, so we literally aren't getting this data at all. So I'm going to do a console.log response.data and see what we get back. Do a little debugging. So localhost 3000. So maybe I might have put the .env file in the wrong spot. So maybe it's supposed to just straight up be outside here. I'm gonna try that out, see if that changes anything. It's almost like it's not getting that URL. Yeah, so that's the issue. So make sure that the env file isn't in the source folder, but instead is in this like root folder area. So on the same level as the source folder. So that's why it wasn't getting that URL. So now we're actually seeing that we're getting the title here, but we're not getting the excerpt. And we do have an excerpt here. So let's see if I spelled excerpt correctly. There's a very good chance I didn't. And no, I did not. So excerpt. And there we go. Now we're getting the excerpt. And then we have this link here that we can click on. And now we see we are going to the blog detail page and we have the correct slug here. So awesome. Whew. So we managed to get that working. So now we're going to fill out this get blogs. And then these blogs are just going to be right below this Jumbotron. So I'm just going to do a call to get blogs here. So that's going to get our blogs. So now what we have to do is actually set that up. So let's get working on that. So we're going to let list be an empty list. Let results be empty. Oops. And we're also going to return result in the very end once we're finished this logic for the function. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to map through our what is it? The blog post. So we're mapping through the blogs, and we're gonna, for each blog post, we're gonna actually create that blog post. So we're gonna return list.push, and in here we're going to push that blog post. So of course I don't want to write all this code, so let's go back here. And then right below here we have an example of one of these blog posts. So we see that they have the category showing and all that stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this. So this entire thing here, or whoops. So that's going to be in our blog.js here. Just going to go ahead and paste that in here. Make sure that my indenting is all good. There we go. Instead of class, I want all of these to say class name. There we go. So we should, so we won't see anything quite yet, but we will soon. The other thing we're gonna need is for let I equal to 0. I is less than list.length. I plus equals 2, because we want to have basically the like cards displayed like 2 on each what's it called, 2 on each like row. So within here, gonna do result.push. I'm gonna have a div. This div is gonna have a key, which is just gonna be I. Gonna have a class name. That's gonna be row. And then we're going to do mb-2. There you go. And let's see what's going on here. So why is there a div here? Oh my goodness, what is going on? I is less than list.length. There we go. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have a row here. Now we're going to want our columns. So div class name is equal to column, medium, and then 6. We're going to want 2 of these. So one card's going to be on one half, one card's going to be on the other half, and we're just going to bring in list at I, and we're going to bring in list at I plus 1. And then if that exists, I'm going to do list at I plus 1. Otherwise, I'm just going to do null. And then, let's see, so we're going to have to edit these things. So for this category, what I'm going to want to do is bring in blog post.category. And now if we do that now, what you're going to see is like, this is what I was talking about with like environment. It's going to have like a lowercase, business has a lowercase, and I want this to have a capital letter at the start. So that's why I created that one function. Where is it? There it is, capitalized first letter. So I'm just going to wrap this in that function. And then that should make our categories actually look better. There we go, we have a capital letter. So that's good. We're going to want to bring in the title. So that's going to be right here. So blog post.title. And then I'm going to want to have the date. So blog post.month. And then have a space, blog post.day. And then gonna want to have the excerpt here. So I'm gonna delete this blog post dot excerpt. And then this I'm gonna want to have as a link. And that's going to go to. And then this again, we're gonna do the curly braces and the tildes, and that's gonna go /blog / the slugs. So blog post dot slug. So that's good. And then it's gonna say continue reading. Excuse me. And then instead of an SVG here, what I'm gonna do is just get rid of that, and I'm gonna have instead an image tag. And then I'm gonna do width is equal to 200 and height is equal to 250. And then the source is gonna be blog post dot thumbnail. And then for alt, just thumbnail, I guess. I didn't have any thing on the model to fill for this, so I can't dynamically bring anything in, but of course you can feel free to also have that on your backend. So let's go ahead and check this out. So right now we're not seeing these images, and that's because if we actually take a look here at where they're coming from, where is it? So we have the card. Should be in here. Yeah, so it's coming from localhost 8000 media photos. Oh, so maybe it should be able to retrieve that. I'm going to go into my blog posts. And I'm just going to grab another image here. So maybe this one. Go ahead and save that. See if I can at least retrieve that. Okay, so yeah, I just have to re-upload these images then, it seems. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that since for whatever reason I'm unable to find them. So let's do that. And the same thing with here. All right. And now on our front end, we can actually see these images. So perfect. So we have everything set up here. And then this section's been pretty long. So in the next section, what I'm going to do is these blog details. So when you click here, you're going to go into the blog detail page, and you're going to actually see the details of the blog displayed here. And also another thing I'm going to do is within this categories section, make it so that if you click on, let's say, business, you're actually going to see all of the blogs from the business category. Like here we have 2, so you would see these 2 displayed here. If you clicked environment, you would see this blog post displayed there. So a very nice way to kind of filter the blog posts. So that is what we're going to tackle. Also another thing for these images, which I didn't mention, but I made their aspect ratio so that it's 2000 pixels wide and 2500 pixels in height. That way when I did this width equals 200, height equals 250, these images aren't stretched in any kind of way. So in your admin panel, when you upload these images, you're also going to want to make sure you have some kind of tool for doing that. So what I personally use is I use Affinity Designer to do this kind of stuff. So, I mean, just to showcase that quickly, why not? You can do this with any sort of editing tool, but this is what I personally use. So you can do something like open up one of these images. So I have this image here. So what I would start off doing is I would create a new kind of thing here. Have a custom width and height. So what I did is just 2000. Height was 2500. Of course, this isn't really related to the development of this blog, but just in case this is something you're interested in knowing how to do, then you would quite simply just drag in the image and just put it right in place, and then export that image with that resolution. So that way you don't have any kind of stretching here. So that's kind of just an aside thing, but I guess just good to know how I actually created these images. So yeah. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this first section here. So hope you found this exciting and learned a few things. And in the next section, I'm going to go ahead and tackle the rest of this blog application with that blog detail and the categories pages. So hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next section.